Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from group 3 and in this video we will discuss about teaching across age level. Okay, before that, I would like to introduce our member group. My name is Salsya Apriatuzzolam as a presenter and moderator, and they are Salsabila Luthfia and Awwaliya Muttaqih as presenter. Teaching across age level. Teachers hold a very central position and role in the school education system. The role of the teacher is the architect for the teaching and learning process. Teaching a second or foreign language divides the learner's age into 3 age groups, namely children, teenagers, and adults. Okay, the first material is teaching children. Basically, children learn a second language in a way that the learner is not aware of language. The language learning carried out by children will be more embedded both cognitively and affectively, so that it will be easier to master the second language as well as mastering the first language. Their children are more spontaneous towards language. Meanwhile, adults are more careful and pay more attention to language forms. Teachers need to pay attention that children are still in the development phase that Piaget calls the concrete operation period. So rules, explanation, and other discussion about abstract language must be given very carefully. To successfully teach children a second language is needed children special skills and intuition that differ from those appropriate for adult teaching. 5 categories can help provide some practical approaches to teaching children. Okay, 1. Intellectual development. We can begin to be introduced by showing certain patterns and also through giving example. 2. Attention span. When they are faced with things that they think are boring, useless, and too difficult, ways that can be done are by designing various class activities to meet these children's interest in the concept of here and now, trying to be animated to liven up the atmosphere, showing enthusiasm for the material that will be presented, having a good sense of humor, and trying to satisfy curiosity students. 3. Sensory input, such as role-playing and playing games, providing projects or activities that can help sensory aids can help students internalize concepts, such as the fragrance of flowers, the surface of plants and fruits, the taste of food, as well as other audiovisual aids such as video, pictures, and music. A teacher's nonverbal language plays an important role because children are also sensitive to facial expression and gesture. 4. Affective factors. Children are usually more sensitive towards their age peers to help students overcome this obstacle. For example, by being patient and supportive in building student self-esteem and as much as possible exploring verbal participation from students, especially quiet students. And the 5. Authentic, meaningful language. Children have good abilities in sensing authentic language. Language must be taught in context because language that has abstract, isolated, and unrelated sentence cannot be remembered easily by children. A whole language approach is very important so that children can see the relationship as a whole. Okay, the second material is teaching to teenagers. Teenagers is a transition period from childhood to adulthood, a period that is a challenge for teachers. The following are several considerations in teaching groups of teenagers based on those discussed previously. 1. Intellectual capacity. At this age, abstract operational thinking means more sophisticated intellectual processing. The complex problems can be solved by thinking logically, meta-language, or grammatical explanation. 2. Attention span. The attention span increases as a result of intellectual maturity, but with the many diversions in a teenager life, this span can easily decrease again, as many distractions arise in teenager life. Those potential attention span can easily be reduced along with appearances, sexuality, acceptance, weekend parties, and perhaps the temptation when they think their teacher is not looking to sneak through text message exchange on their cell phones. 3. Identity. Teenagers are highly sensitive to how others perceive their physical and emotional change and mental abilities. Identity issues were found to be significant. The number of second language students who had to become language brokers and a translator for parents and grandmother or grandfather if they are not yet proficient in using second language. There are several points from guidelines for teaching teenagers. 1. When you use explanation, definition, and other meta language, make them brief to the point and relevant to the communicative text at hand. 2. Some of your activities can involve critical thinking or applying value and beliefs to the controversial issue. 3. Make sure your lessons have variety so that attention span is not an impeding factor. 4. Appeal to your students' immediate interests. 5. Give them chances to talk about their own likes and dislikes. 6. Keep self-esteem high by affirming each learner's talents and strengths. And the last one is encourage small group where risks can be taken more easily. Okay, the third material is teaching to adults. For teaching to adults will be explained by Salsabila Luthfia. For Salsabila Luthfia, please.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Now I will explain the third material about teaching adults. Adults have superior cognitive abilities that can make them more successful in certain classroom struggles. Their level of shyness can be equal to or greater than children. But adults usually have acquired a self-confidence that cannot be found in children. Adults also bring life experiences to the classroom, which give them background as a backdrop for the situation introduced in a curriculum. It means they can bring a rich array of skills, strategies on the tasks that the language course asks them to carry out. First, we have abstract thinking ability. Adults are better able to understand a context-reduced segment of language. Authenticity and meaningfulness are, of course, still highly important, but with adults, a teacher can take temporary error to operate and examine isolated linguistic properties. Second is attention span. Adults have longer attention spans for material that may not be interesting to them. The third is self-confidence. Adults often bring a general self-confidence into a classroom. So, their egos may be stronger, but we should never underestimate the emotional fragility of adults. The last, we have vocational interests. Adult learners, especially those in their college years and beyond, are more able to focus on their vocational future and will derive motivational intensity from such vision. Here are guidelines for teaching adults. First, we need to beware of too much abstract explanation of grammar and vocabulary. Second, even though adults cannot experience complex thinking in their new language, they are nevertheless intelligent adults with mature cognition and adult emotion. The third is don't treat adults in your class like children by calling them kids, using caretaker talk. Caretaker talk is the way parents talk to children. Adults have longer attention span than children, but it is still important to keep your activities, to keep moving along at a lively pace. Next, If give your students as many opportunities as possible to make choices about what they will do in and out of the classroom. And next, give them opportunities to share their stories. And the last is tap into your students' vocational or vocational interest as much as possible in your choice of topics, issues, questions, and discussion in the classroom. Now we will present to you about teaching across proficiency levels. There are 3 levels. The first is teaching beginning level. Teaching beginners is considered by many to be the most challenging level of language instruction. It is because the students at this level have little or no prior knowledge of the target language. The teachers becomes a central determiner in helping students to achieve their goals. Now I will explain about students' cognitive learning processes. With little or no automaticity in producing or comprehending the new language, learners need to be led one small step at a time. In these early stages, with adequate repetition of new material, you can encourage your students to repeating words and phrases to use practice language for meaningful purposes. The second is the role of the teacher. Beginning students are highly dependent on the teacher for models of language. And so, a teacher-centered classroom is appropriate for some of your classroom time. Pair work and group work are effective techniques for taking students' focus on you as the center of attention and for getting them into an interactive frame of mind even at the most beginning level. The third is teacher talk. Your own English needs to be clearly articulated. It is appropriate to slow your speech for easier student comprehension. And remember, you don't need to talk any louder to beginners than to advanced students if your articulation is clear. Use simple vocabulary and structures that are at or just slightly beyond their levels. Next, we have authenticity of language. Even at the beginning levels of L2 learning, it is important to present to students language that is as authentic as possible. For example, simple greetings and introductions make sure the words are limited to short and simple phrases. The fifth, we have fluency and accuracy. Fluency does not have to apply only to long words. The flow of language is important to establish. Attention to accuracy should center on the particular grammatical, phonological, or discourse elements that are being practiced. In teaching speaking skills, it is extremely important at this stage that you must be very sensitive to students' need to practice freely and openly without fear of being corrected at every minor flows. The sixth is student creativity. At the beginning level, students can be creative only within of a highly controlled collection of language. Innovation will come later when students get more language under their control. The seventh is activity and task. A good many teacher-initiated questions dominate at this level, followed only after some time by an increase in simple student-initiated questions. Group and pair activities are excellent techniques as long as they are structured and clearly defined with specific objectives. The eighth is listening and speaking goals. Listening and conversation functions for beginners are meaningful and authentic communication tasks. They are limited more by grammar, vocabulary, and length of utterance than by communicative functions. And then we have reading and writing goals. Advertisement, forms, and receive are role for the beginner's reading meal. While written work may involve forms, lists, and simple notes and letters, the most important contextual factor that you should bear in mind in teaching reading and writing to beginner is their literacy level in their own native language. And then the last, we have form focused instruction or FFI. If you are teaching an L2 in a non-L2 speaking country and your students all speak the same native language, you may get profit from using their L1 to explain grammatical points. In other situations where you must rely only on the L2 in the classroom, grammatical explanations of any complexity could easily overwhelm the students at this level. Some vocabulary items will be efficiently manifest through analogy and meaningful use in different contexts. Okay, it is all my explanation. I return it back to the moderator.
Okay, the next material will be explained by Awwaliya Muttaqih. For Awwaliya Muttaqih, please.
Okay, I'm going to explain the next material. Teaching intermediate level. At this level, the learner has progressed beyond the beginner stage. The learner is able to perform basic tasks, a bit fluent in his speech, and also sometimes able to self-correct. As Richard notes, a common experience at this stage is to feel that they have reached a plateau in their language learning and do not perceive that they are making further progress. It's time when many learners give up, feeling overwhelmed with the prospect of reaching fluency. However, a positive outlook views the plateau as a critical stage. It's a moment for renewed motivation to press on, a time to put more effort into the process of learning, and a stage in which learners must believe in their eventual success. There are 5 characteristics of the plateau that the learners feel. First, a gap between receptive and productive competence. Second is fluency that has progressed at the expense of accuracy. Third is a limited vocabulary range. Fourth is adequate production ability but speech that is unnatural. And the last is persistent frequent language errors. However, there are some practical suggestions to help learners dealing with these issues and progress through the intermediate stage. First, students' cognitive learning processes. At the intermediate stage, some automatic processing has taken hold. Phrases, sentences, structures, and conversational rules have been practiced and increasing in number, forcing the mental processes to automatize. One of teachers' principal goals at this level is to help students to continue to automatize the bits and pieces of language that might otherwise clutter the mind. Number 2, the role of teacher. At this level, the teacher is no longer the sole driver of language. Students should be encouraged to ask questions, make comments, and negotiate particular choices in their appropriate learning. Number 3, teacher talk. Teacher talk should not take up a main proportion of a class hour. If not, you may not be giving students enough opportunities to speak. Teacher also should use less the student's native language at this level. Number 4, authenticity of language. At this level, students sometimes become overly worried about grammarly correctness. Make sure they stay on the track but still allow for some form-focused instruction. Students may also get overly focused on the accent, thinking that they must try hard for the perfect pronunciation. The teacher goal is to help the students develop clear articulation and speak fluently. Let them know that accents are just a bonus part. Number 5, fluency and accuracy. Some students are likely to become too worried about accuracy. In this case, you should pay attention to each learner. In general, fluency exercises like saying or writing a continuous flow of language for a short period of time without any self or other correction at all are a must at this level. These exercises help students to overcome the sense of always having to say or write everything correctly. Number 6, student creativity. The fact that some of this new language is now under control gives rise to more opportunities for the student to be creative. Students are also becoming more capable of applying their classroom language to situations they have not been trained in. Number 7, activities and tasks. The common activities and tasks that could be used at this level are like chain stories, surveys and polls, paired interviews, group problem solving, role play, storytelling, and many others. Number 8. Listening and speaking goals. At this level, students can participate in short conversations, ask and answer questions, find alternative ways to convey meaning, and many more. Students at this stage can often understand more than they can produce, which can be frustrating. However, it can also provide learning moments for the students as they turn what they understand into productive performance. Number 9. Reading and writing goals. Increasing complexity in terms of length, grammar, and discourse now characterize reading material as students read paragraphs and short, simple stories and are beginning to use skimming and scanning skills. Writing is similarly more complex. Number 10. Form-focused instruction. Grammar topics such as progressive verb tenses and clauses typify intermediate level teaching. Students can benefit from small doses of short, simple explanations of points in English, whether through English or the native language medium. Keep grammatical meta-language to an ideal minimum at this level. And the next material is teaching advanced level. As students move up the developmental ladder, they get closer and closer to their goals, developing fluency along with a higher level of accuracy. With increasing confidence in their abilities, they are able to handle most situations that require the use of the target language. So the guidelines in teaching advanced level are: number 1, students' cognitive learning processes. At this level, some aspects of language require special attention for minor corrections, improvements, and other tinkering. So the teacher's task at this level is to assist in the attempts to automate language. Number 2, the role of teacher. At this level, the independence that students have gained must be cleverly channeled into classroom routines that benefit the majority of students' time. The most common occurrence in advanced level teaching is that your class runs away with itself and you are left with only a quarter or half your plans fulfilled. Directive role on your part can create effective learning opportunities even within a predominantly learner-centered classroom. Number 3, teacher talk. Natural language at natural speed is a must at this level. Make sure your students are challenged by your choice of vocabularies, structures, idioms, and other language features. But after all, they are still learning the language, so remember that they have not yet turned into native speakers. Make sure your students have enough opportunities to produce language so that your role as a feedback provider becomes more visible. Number 4, authenticity of language. Almost no authentic native language should be disqualified at this stage. Certain limitations depending on how advanced your class is. Number 5, fluency and accuracy. At this level, most, if not all of your students are fluent in that, they have passed beyond the breakthrough stage and are no longer thinking about every word or structure they are producing. But a handful or two of problems still need attention. Number 6, students' creativity. The joy of teaching at this level is in those moments of student performance when you know that they are now able to apply classroom material to real context beyond. Make sure that students keep their eyes fixed on those goals. Number 7, activities and tasks. What is unique about this level are activities like group debates and argumentation, complex role plays, scanning and skimming reading material, determining and questioning author's intent, and writing essays and critiques. Often at this level, students have specific purposes for which they are planning to use English. As a teacher, you have to focus on those purposes as much as possible. Number 8, listening and speaking goals. Pragmatic barriers are a common area for improvement as students refine their production and comprehension in terms of style, status of the interlocutor, the specific context of a conversation, and culturally influenced language constraints. Number 9, reading and writing goals. Reading and writing skills similarly progress closer and closer to native speaker competence as students learn more about such things as critical reading, the role of schemata in interpreting written text, and writing a document related to one's profession. Number 10. Form-focused instruction. Your classes need not become bored with explanation of form, but well-targeted form-focused instruction will often be extremely effective at this level. Okay, I think that's all what I can tell you. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
Okay guys, that is our material from group 3. Thank you for watching this video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.